Oh, what a night so far, Nick. We were
Yes,
smitten.
it's been very enlightening.
Enlightening to say the least. We go from enlightening to now legendary. I love when we get the chance to talk to legendary actors or musicians like this. So let's welcome the one and the only Mr. Stacy Keach to Totally Driven Radio. Stacy, how you doing tonight?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. You're a legend, my friend. How does it feel to be a legend?
Well, thank you. I don't know, but I guess when you get to be my age, you're either a legend or dead. So I'm glad that I'm in the former category.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, you've done it all. I mean, whether it's acting on the big screen or TV or on stage, writing, producing, directing, even musical you do as well, correct?
Yeah, my parents, God bless them, put me in front of a piano when I was about 12 years old and said, if you don't practice, you're not going to take the car out on the weekend and you're not going to play football in the afternoon. So I begrudgingly sat down and practiced. I'm so glad they made me do that because I'm enjoying in my later life being able to play and write music and yeah. But had they not done that, I don't know that I would be doing what I'm doing now.
Wow. So was music, I guess, your start into the world of entertainment?
Well, in some ways, but I actually, when I was 4 or 5 years old, it's very hard. My memory is obviously cloudy going back that far, but I played Old King Cole in the school pageant, and I think the first or second grade or kindergarten, something like that. So it really wasn't my introduction to the entertainment industry. I started in the theater, I guess. And when I was in grammar school, I was in, as I recall, a play called Dawn Boy and Rip Van Winkle, and they were school pageants, and I acted in those. So that was like the beginning of my acting career. Yeah.
Wow. Now, what is like your true passion out of everything you do? Is it the acting or the music or the writing or producing or?
I like it all. I love acting in the theater. I really do. I'm having a wonderful time right now. I'm revisiting a character that I played many years ago, Falstaff, in both parts of Shakespeare's Henry IV, parts 1 and 2. And we're doing it at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C., and I'm having the best time. I played it 47 years ago. Now, when I was 27, so we just reversed, we just flipped the numbers, and now I'm 72. So when I did Falstaff originally, I was doing everything I could as a young actor to pretend that I was old and fat. Now that I'm 72, I'm trying to pretend that I'm young and thin. So... Hey, but I love theater. I really do. That's my favorite. Yeah, I love movies too. I love it all. I enjoy it all, and I'm blessed. I've had a wonderful career, and I've been very lucky, and it has a lot to do with my family and my friends, and luck, just good luck. I think the cliches of being in the right place at the right time exist because they're true, and right. I think that's happened more often than not in my career.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, though. A lot of people will say, I do have the those maybe say it to themselves, like, I do have the talent, but more so than anything, it was a lot of right place at the right time.
I think so, because there are so many talented, wonderful actors and musicians who are still waiting for their big break, and it's just a matter of luck. I think it's just and a lot of people think you create luck for yourself. That's true to a certain extent. I think you have to be prepared for those moments, and you have to work hard so that you're ready when the coach calls you out on the field, that you're going to be able to do what you're supposed to do. Then I think that's important. But actors, it's difficult because you need other actors in order to practice your craft. So I encourage young actors, particularly students, to get together with your fellow actors and read scenes, do things. Don't let those muscles die, and keep them alive. And I think that's really an important thing when you're waiting around for the phone to ring. Don't wait around. Get out there and do things. Get active, and I think that's an important message, I think.
Now, I had seen Morgan Freeman credits you with teaching him the most about acting.
Oh my gosh, Morgan! God love him. No, he's just being very gracious as he is. He's a wonderful man. I adore Morgan. But going way back, we started. We were off Broadway together in a play by George Tabori, the N-word lovers. It was an unbelievable experience. Morgan was playing a very small part, and I introduced him to my agent at that time, and he never looked back. He was still doing the Electric Company, and then he went on to do this wonderful movie with Christopher Reeve, and everything just opened up for him, as well it should. He's a brilliant talent.
Now, do you like what you were saying there with Morgan, like helping him and kind of like, I guess, directing him in the right direction? Do you do that a lot with people, with younger?
Not really. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, like with younger actors or that you come across that maybe you take a liking to, do you try to help them and teach them?
Well, I think yes. I mean, last year I was teaching acting at George Mason University by way of distance learning. We were teaching by way of Skype, and it was a real eye-opening experience for me to be able to find what it is that I can convey to other actors that would help them in becoming better actors. And but I think the best way, I'm working with a lot of young actors now in these Shakespeare plays, wonderful young actors, very talented. I think the best way to teach is by example. Just get out there and do your stuff and, hit the groove and they'll follow. I mean, I think that's the best way, just to get in the groove yourself and you teach by example. I think that's the best way.
Now, this struck me as odd as I was reading about you. You went to the Yale School of Drama. You went to the London Academy of Music. And I'm thinking to myself, they're like prestigious schools. And then you were doing like Cheech and Chong. I just thought to myself, like, I wonder what his teachers thought.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know. But I've always wanted to, I mean, my objective, my goal, my dream was always to be able to combine being a classical artist with being a pop artist. A little bit like great musicians, that can play classical and jazz. I mean, Leonard Bernstein and Andre Previn. I just think that as an actor, one of the things, and also by not limiting yourself and not isolating yourself to one medium, you give yourself much more opportunity to make a living.
Sure.
I've often said that, the only way I can do a Shakespeare play for a few bucks a week is by virtue of the fact that I do American Greed. I narrate, it's a voiceover that I do. And that keeps me, and keeps, food on the table for my family and allows me to go off and do what I love. Because it doesn't pay anything. I mean, there's no money in theater of that classical theater. There's no money in it. It's a labor of love. It pays the soul. It doesn't pay the rent.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like almost like I say to people like musicians or that are trying to make it, like if they get that one-hit wonder, I say, like, if you got that one-hit wonder and you made all this money, you made that boatload of money, would you just kind of go off and like just do your own thing that you want to do? Not trying to chase that hit no more. And that's kind of like what they all say. They're like, I would just be able to enjoy myself and create for myself and make myself happy. Right.
Well, I guess that's sort of an optimum situation for any artist. to be able to not have to worry about commerce. Just concentrate on art.
Yeah.
It's not easy. We have to do both. That's really we're obligated. Yeah, we have to do both.
Now, going back to Cheech and Chong, what was it like working with those guys back in their heyday?
Oh, it was great. I mean, they're wonderful guys to work with. And everybody thought everybody was stoned all the time on the set. Not true. I mean, everybody was straight as arrows. I mean, after work, that's a whole other thing. But during the course of shooting, everybody was extremely, extremely professional. I mean, you have to be when you're making a film. There's just too many. There are too many variables that have to be dealt with. Too many loose ends that can unravel if you don't keep it together. And but it was so much fun. And I was so happy. They after we made those movies, they Cheech and Chong, they went to a period of time where they were separated. They weren't talking to each other. And then they got back together. And I was thrilled when they got back together. In fact, I was doing a play on the road. I was doing Frost Nixon on the road, playing Richard Nixon, and we were in Houston. And it just so happens that both Cheech and Chong were there doing a concert that night. So I came over after my performance and came on stage as Sergeant Stadinko and busted them in front of the audience. They loved it. It was great.
Oh, that's
and I hope, there's talk about another movie. Who knows? You never know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I saw they were like doing stuff together again.
Together. Who knows what can happen? Sorry?
Yeah, I was saying, I saw they were back together again doing stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
That would be funny.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Oh, yeah.
Now, I also saw.
Yeah, those were.
I also saw you were supposed to play the priest in The Exorcist, and you turned it down.
I didn't turn it down. No, I didn't turn it down. Oh, I would have. I loved. Yeah. It was on a Friday. I had gone to the Sherry Netherlands Hotel to audition with Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn, and William Friedkin was there and Bill Blatty, and I did a reading and I knocked it out of the park. It was great. And I went home and I got a call from my agent. It was Friday night, saying they've offered you the part, and they offered you the money was terrible, and. I said, I don't care. I wasn't interested in the money. I just wanted to play the role. And they said, well, they're going to try to improve the offer. So I said, okay, do what you have to do. That night, William Friedkin and Bill Blatty went to see Jason Miller in That Championship Season, which he wrote, and he was there at the theater, and they went out afterwards and had a drink and talked. And next thing I know, on a Monday morning, I got a call from my agent saying, they moved on to another actor, which meant was she had made a counteroffer, which they declined, and they went with Jason Miller. I didn't turn it down. I was overlooked. Anyway, those things happen. They happen a lot. Yeah.
Is there a lot of roles like that, that has happened to you, that ended up being like iconic movies like that?
Well, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was in my corner for about 2 seconds, but that was by virtue of the fact that Hal Ashby, who was working on the script at that time, Ken Kesey's novel, which was turned into the screenplay, and Ken Kesey had sort of totally rewritten his own novel and expanded it and made the Indian much more of a vociferous political voice. And I had gotten a call from Kirk Douglas asking me if I'd be interested in playing this role. Well, my gosh, I said absolutely. So I had a meeting with Michael Douglas and at the time Brenda Vaccaro, and it was a great meeting. I came home, and the next thing I know, I got a call from the studio saying, "Guess what? Milos Forman is going to direct this movie now, and you're just going to have to accept the fact that Jack Nicholson is going to play the role." Milos Forman was very gracious. He had breakfast with me and told me that, and it was a great disappointment, obviously. But
sure.
Hey, this again is part of the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Things happen for a reason.
I talk about it in my book. I've written a book. I just wrote a book called All in All. It's out right now. It's my memoir, and these stories are all pretty well articulated. Yeah.
Now, you just finally, you wrote this book, and one question I always ask when people write a book is, how was it going back? Was there a lot of things that you brought back to yourself while writing the book that you kind of forgot about and kind of looked at? Like,
oh,
wow,
sure.
like,
I mean,
I went through this.
Not only that, you write things that you remember finally, that you sort of delve back into your past, and then all of a sudden, you have deadlines to meet, obviously, and then you realize after you've handed the chapter in that, there was a million other things I wanted to say.
Right.
That's the frustrating part. And so now you have to write another book, I guess. That's what I'm going to do.
What made you finally want to write a book, though?
Well, I'm getting up there in age, and I felt it's time. I mean, I've had a wonderful career, and I thought it's time to share my experiences with others. I didn't, while I can still do it. I think that the important thing is, God knows. You never know what's around the corner. And I had the opportunity. I met a wonderful journalist named Stuart Miller, who said he would love to help me. And he interviewed me and talked to me, and we wrote things down together. And that's how it happened. Yeah, and that happened while I was doing Other Desert Cities in New York on Broadway. During the day, I'd come home and we'd go spend a couple hours going over, my career and my life, and that's the result of it. Yeah.
Was it something you were thinking about doing for a long time, or?
Well, yeah, I think generally speaking, I think everybody who is in the public eye at some point or other has an idea of whether they're going to write a book about what they've gone through or whatever. And I've had a wonderful career, but there've been big bumps in the road that I wanted to talk about that people were aware of, and I thought it was time to get it all out. So that's you sort of know when the time is right, and it was right for me. Yeah.
Now, one of the bumps in the road was your battle with drugs.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. And my time in prison in London. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a big bump in the road. Yeah, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to recover from that. I really did. I thought my career was over. That's it. It's done, cooked, finished. But it wasn't true, thank God. And that's thanks to my wonderful wife and my family and my friends and my fans. And I got a lot of support. And thank God I didn't have, the temptation. It never occurred to me again. I mean, I just I managed to get away from that stuff, and I think Nancy Reagan had a lot to do with it, because at that time Ronald Reagan was president. Nancy Reagan was in her Just Say No program, and I was sort of a poster boy, as somebody who screwed up badly and had something to say about it. Charlie Rangel invited me to the Senate into a Senate subcommittee hearing on. He was trying to raise money for drug awareness, and I was a spokesman for that, and I was very much in part of her Just Say No program. And quite frankly, she and Frank Sinatra had a lot to do with saving my career at that point.
Wow. So I guess
Frank Sinatra did, because there was a banquet for Nancy Reagan. He was the MC. And I had done a full-page ad in the program, and he called attention to it. And I thought, oh, my God. When he said, I want to say something about this guy, Keach, and I slid under the table, I thought, oh, my life is over. But he said nice things about me, and that's, and everybody in Hollywood was there. So I think in many ways that night resuscitated my career.
So So then before that, was your career were you kind of being shunned? People weren't giving you a chance?
Yeah, well, I wasn't. Jay Bernstein, who was the producer on Mike Hammer, managed to get CBS to bring me back for a season. But as far as other things were concerned, other roles in movies and television, it was sort of a wait and see. Let's see how he does,
Right.
And
right.
Yeah. So there was a period. There was a slowdown. Definitely. You know.
Well, I guess
but
if Frank Sinatra's giving you
been going pretty good.
Sorry? If I was going to say, if Frank Sinatra's giving you the thumbs up, I mean, that's got to be a good seal of approval.
Yeah, it really was. No question about it. I was very lucky to get that. Yeah.
Now, with your book, was there some things that were really tough for you to open up about and write about?
Not really. No. Again, one of the things, I'd say one of the most difficult things about writing a book, particularly if you've been in the public eye for as long as I have and done as many movies and television shows, it's getting the rights to put the photographs in the book. And
really?
What I didn't know at the time was, that when you put a photo in a book, you have to get the permission of the photographer. And in many cases, the photographer was dead, or who knew where the photographer was, or who knew So that was because lawyers, generally speaking, who represent the publishers, are very unwilling to put a picture in a book unless they get a clearance on it. And that was the hardest. That was definitely the hardest part about writing a book for me. Yeah, it was getting the clearances on photos, which I managed to do, but by the same token, it was a long, involved, and tedious process.
Now, does that account for say personal pictures of like yourself as maybe like a child
personal
of your family?
Pictures of me in different movies, and personal pictures are easy. It's when you want to put a movie when you want to put a photo of a movie that you did 20 years ago or 30 years ago, or a television show that you did 10 years ago. If you don't get the permission from the photographer, the lawyers wouldn't accept it. Yeah.
Wow.
So there are lots and lots of pictures that I didn't get a chance to put in the book that I'm very sorry didn't get a chance to go in because they're wonderful photos. But I didn't manage to get the clearances. But there's a lot of good photos in the book. I mean, there's no shortage of photos. It's just that there's some that I wanted to be in that I didn't get.
Now, Stacy Keach, the actor, came into my radar of life back, I guess I was about 12 years old, with the Blue and the Gray miniseries.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, that was one of my favorites. I love the Blue and the Gray, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't make miniseries like that anymore.
No. And, we had one of your co-stars on a few weeks ago, Duncan Regehr, and I said that exactly to him. I said, they don't make, epic miniseries like that anymore.
No, they don't. No. Unfortunately. Well, they're very expensive. And now, the advent of the reality show crushed all that. I mean, the fact that you can put an hour in a television, and do The Voice or whatever, any reality show you can name, I mean, which is so cheap to do. It's just
right.
Costs so little money to do. That's why spend money on an epic Civil War drama,
Sure. Now, what's your feelings on reality shows?
Well, I listen. They're there for a reason. People love them, and people, flock to them. And fine. I mean, as an actor, I have to realize that they're putting a lot of actors out of work. There's no question about that. They don't make anywhere near as many movies of the week or dramas than they used to. However, there are many more series now, and because there are many more networks, there are many more outlets. So, in a way, it's balanced out. I do a show called American Greed, which is it's a reality show. It's a documentary show, really, though. It's about fraudsters and people who do bad things, scams, Ponzi schemes, Ponzi schemers, and it's been on for some 7 or 8 years now, and I love doing it. I mean, but in a way, I feel like it's a public service too. It's telling people if something sounds too good to be true, generally it is, and a lot of these people are victims of terrible, con men, and that's the show we do on CNBC. It's on, in fact, it's on tonight. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Thursday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, another movie you did that I really loved was American History X.
I love that movie too. I love working with Edward Norton. Wonderful, wonderful actor. And we've done 2 movies together, as a matter of fact. We did The Bourne Legacy as well after that, some 12 years later. But American History X was a tough movie, beautifully directed by Tony Kaye. It was a tough movie, but I think brilliantly cast and directed, and wonderful screenplay. And Edward was fabulous.
Now, when you say tough movie, what do you mean by tough movie?
Well, it was it shows a brutal side of our culture. I mean, neo-Nazis and the things that they do with kids, particularly in the videotapes. And I mean, the character that I played was a very not somebody you'd want to invite over to the house for dinner. I mean,
right.
Cameron was a tough guy, and based on some people who really exist in life. And I was very nervous about it at the time. And I'll never forget, I was walking through an airport shortly after American History X had been released, and this guy came walking toward me, and he was, you could tell he was a skinhead biker. I mean, and he was a big guy. And he saw me, he spotted me, and he went, Stacy Keach. He started walking toward me, and I thought, oh, my God, this is it. I'm going to get, He came over to me, and he actually went to his knees. And I realized I had become a hero to this guy playing this character. I mean, it was shocking to me. But better than having him stick a knife in my gut, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Wow. Now, you also were on a bunch of episodes of 2.5 Men, and you got to work with Charlie Sheen. What did you think?
Wonderful. Yeah, I loved it.
What did you think when Charlie was going through his meltdown What did you think when Charlie was going through that meltdown a couple years ago?
None of it was visible in any way, shape, or form during the time that John Amos and I were playing lovers on 2.5 Men. No, it was perfectly. He came to work on time, and it was wonderful with the other actors. Did his job perfectly. Knew his lines. There was not a single ounce of any evidence of any trouble going on. When that happened, I mean, I was surprised. Now, I'm very good friends with his dad. We've known each other for years, and I saw him and I asked him. I said, "How's Charlie doing?" And he said, "He's doing fine. He's having a little bit of a struggle, but and his new show, Anger Management, which I also did with Martin, who was playing his father on the show, it was great. Great. He's a great guy and a wonderful, wonderful actor, and he's just so much fun to be around. And I have great sympathy. I know he's had some problems, but he seems to be dealing with it pretty well.
Yeah. He always seems to come out on top too, somehow, some way.
That's right. Well, I think it has a lot to do with his family and his, and Charlie himself. I mean, he's a resilient human being, and very dedicated to his family, and very dedicated, loving. He's a very loving person, very loving and giving.
Yeah, he seems it. He seems like family is very big to him too, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as it is with me. Yeah. Mm.
Now, like you were talking about, you do a lot of voiceover work as well.
Yeah.
One of the big questions we ask a lot with, it seems like finally people that do voiceover work are getting their just due and are finally getting credit. They're not being just that voice that you hear. It's now like people are actually caring and putting the name with the voices now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there are some voices that are recognizable. I mean, we know, Morgan Freeman, obviously, James Earl Jones. But a lot of people don't know Edward Herman. Ed Herman is a great voiceover artist. Peter Coyote. And there are many others as well, where you can recognize a voice. John Delancey is another one. My good friend James Naughton, who's been doing Cialis for, I guess, 100 years now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I, and I know that my voice is recognizable as well for American Greed, and some other things that I've done over the years. I did World's Most Amazing Videos, and I did about 10 years of Nova doing documentaries. I love doing documentaries. I just think it's, first of all, you go in the studio, you don't have to wear makeup. You go in the studio and just do voices. And most recently, I finally had a dream of mine come true. I got a chance to be in a Disney movie. I played Skipper in Disney's Planes, an animated film, and we're now doing the sequel, Planes, Fire and Rescue, which will be out this summer. And it was like a dream come true for me, because for many years I tried to get into the Disney family, doing their voices. I auditioned 100,000 times for them, nothing.
Wow.
And then I finally narrated a documentary called The Pixar Story, which was about the evolution of Pixar and Disney and John Lasseter and Steve Jobs and Ned Call, and how that, and I got a chance to meet them at the Marin Film Festival after the film was shown, because another film that I had been involved with was, The Pixar Story was in the festival. So I got to meet them, and 2 years later, I got this letter from John Lasseter saying, we'd like you to play Skipper in Planes. The thing is, people don't realize, animated films, from the time that they are conceived until the time they hit the screen in the movie theaters, it's a 5-year, 24-hour, 24/7, most labor-intensive work you can't imagine. I mean, in terms of putting an animated film together like Pixar and Disney do. I mean, or any, DreamWorks as well. I mean, animation is it's so labor intensive. Every little flick of the eye, every little, it has to be drawn and then digitized with the computer. And if something doesn't quite work, they call you back in. You have to do the voice again, and it's an amazing process. I worked on Planes for almost 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Before it, and it came out last summer. It's very successful, and now the sequel is on its way. Planes, Fire and Rescue.
I didn't think, I always pictured, I knew, how tedious the work is where it goes into the animation, but I wouldn't think that, they would keep having you do voiceover work on the movie as well for 3 years. I would think, it wouldn't be as long doing the voices for it.
Well, each session is not long. I mean, each session may be an hour and a half, 2 hours, and sometimes 3 hours. But changes are made. New scenes are added. Wow. A movie is screened, and John Lasseter is a stickler, and I think one of the reasons why Disney does the great work that it does is because of him. He's an amazing man, extraordinary man, and he's a perfectionist, and he wants things. He wants the emotion to be right. He wants the moves to be right. So there are a lot of changes that go on, and a lot of additions and deletions as well, but mostly additions, mostly things that are added as time goes on, and that's part of the process. It's a layering process, and there's no shortcut to it. It's not something that you can just say, well, here it is. I mean,
right.
Yes, you can do that, and some animators do that, but not at the level of Disney and DreamWorks. No, it's a different ball game. They're playing in the big leagues.
And I think that's why the voiceover people are getting the respect now, is because of companies like DreamWorks and Pixar, because of the incredible work they do. It's really brought attention to now the voices as well.
I think you're absolutely right. Very well, and well said. That's I agree.
Now, speaking of something current, I was just reading that you're involved with Sin City, the sequel to Sin City. Is there anything you can tell us about your character, or sort of what you're going to do?
I play Wallenquist. I play the evil mayor of Sin City. Yeah, it was great. We did that some time ago. We did that. We shot that a long time ago. But it's and we shot the entire thing in front of a green screen. It's
Wow.
very frustrating to work. You don't know. You have no sense of an environment at all. You're sitting in a chair, and then things around you going. You don't know what's going on. And the director tells you. Robert Rodriguez, wonderful, Frank Miller, and what those films. Those are even they have an identity all unto themselves. Sin City, particularly, because it's partially animated. But it's graphic art as well. Frank Miller's a genius, and Frank, and it sort of embodies that dark black and white film noir style that is unique to that particular genre. And I'm excited. It'll be out in August, and I can't wait to see it. Everybody plays a relatively small role. It's a bunch of people doing wonderful cameos. Mickey Rourke and Bruce Willis and Josh Logan has a bigger part in this. And Ava Green was wonderful, just great.
Now, one of the things that I always sort of like to ask is, over the course of this interview, I've got to hear that, you sound like a very sort of humble person, and I wonder, do you realize, sort of how ingrained into, the world of entertainment you really are? Do you know, because you've been involved with so many different things that have been, not just successful, but, I think in, 2007, just with both ER and Prison Break, those are both shows that, coming from me, who's like a TV fanatic, it sort of changed the landscape of the way things were done. And, you've been in Scooby-Doo and Rugrats, and, you're just, I'm curious as if you can comprehend, how far ingrained into sort of pop culture you really are.
Well, I don't know. I just love to keep working. I was a late bloomer with kids, and my wonderful son Shannon is 25. He's studying for his master's degree in public relations, international public relations at NYU. My daughter is 23. She's studying theater at Carolina at Pepperdine, and I got to keep punching the clock. Those college tuitions are tough, man. So I got to keep working, But I'm not. No. In answer to your question about awareness of my presence in the entertainment, no, it's not something. No, I keep. Believe it or not, I keep waiting for my big break.
Well, I know our friend Frank, who calls in from time to time, he'd kill me if I didn't ask, about Lights Out, because it's something that me and him sort of both talked about and are both sort of super frustrated that it went off the air. And you were a big part of that
I'm so
show.
glad to hear you say that, because I was too. That just, I loved that show. I thought it was so well done, so well written. I loved Holt McCallany. I loved everybody who worked on that show. It was just terrific. Warren Light, who was the showrunner and the writer producer. It was a terrific show. But you know what? Nobody came to see it, and that's the problem. It was a boxing show that, even though it had women and his wife, and they had 3 daughters, but women didn't come to see it. And I was shocked that FX, a network that I have great respect for, because they do wonderful shows, but I thought, well, they'll give us, even if the ratings are not so hot the first season, they'll give us a shot. Well, bring us back, They'll give it a second season. No, wrong. Well, I've been wrong about things like that before. Titus was another show that I loved. I really enjoyed doing that show, and
and I can't help but think that both of those shows might have done differently if sort of we were in the age of FX that we are now. Once they started hitting it big with Sons of Anarchy, I think that more people would have fallen behind something like Lights Out if it had sort of the exposure that their shows have today.
I think you're right. I know you're right. You're absolutely right. But, luck of the draw. It's the way it is. Well,
the last question I wanted to ask you was, on your IMDb page, do you know that there's it's sort of like Stacy Keach facts, sort of like the Chuck Norris the sort of dramatic, blown out of proportion stuff. Are you aware of this?
No.
Okay, well,
I'm
my co-host definitely wanted me to bring it up because we just thought that it was kind of amusing that there's this sort of there's a lot of comments, and it's just sort of, it's very, you're a very manly man, according to your fans. So I wanted to read one to you real quick.
Okay.
And it was Stacy Keach once turned down the role to play John Wayne, saying it wasn't manly enough for him.
Oh, please, that's all. Somebody's having a good time in my expense. I never
Absolutely.
did, no. I would have never turned down a chance to play the Duke.
Here's something to give me a chuckle. My wife just handed me a folder. My wife just handed me a folder, and it's a Stacy Keach folder, and you open it up, and it's has a small biography about you in there, and it's got some promotional pictures, and there's one that was actually autographed and as well, to Jessica with best wishes and love, Stacy Keach, and it has a certificate that she was a certified member of the Stacy Keach fan club.
Oh, well, that's nice. Nice. I didn't know that I was handing out certificates for my fan club. I didn't even know I had a fan club. No, I did have a fan club for a time. But now it's not fan clubs. It's everybody's tweeting and Facebooking, and it's and it's a different world we live in. Social media has changed all that.
What do you think of the world of social media?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's a little overwhelming, from time, at times, and there are things that piss me off and things that please me. So I mean, and I think that's true probably of all of us, in terms of it's something that it's very much in our culture, and I mean it's going to continue. I mean, this whole thing that just happened with WhatsApp, it was just bought for $19 billion by Facebook.
Right.
I mean, I think that the world of communication, we live in the world. That's the world we live in. I mean, and that's the era of communications. That's where we are right now, and social media has a lot to do with it. The one thing I think we all have to accept is that we don't have any more privacy. In other words, to create privacy, you really have to work hard to create privacy because our world, we're all under surveillance at all times.
Yep.
Big Brother is watching us.
Yes, he is. He's always watching.
Nothing you can do about it except smile.
Now, currently, like you said, you're working on the Henry IV play. You're getting ready to do that.
Right. I also just finished. I just finished doing a movie in Atlanta. Getting in and out of Atlanta during this weather was kind of an interesting experience. Stephen King's Cell. He wrote it in 2006. Starring John Cusack and Samuel Jackson and Isabel Furman, myself, and it'll be out next year. It's a wonder. I mean, it's Stephen King. It's a great yarn about how cell phones, radiation from cell phones, create zombies.
Ah.
Yeah, very scary. Yeah. I had a great time doing it. And I also did a film recently with Chloe Moretz, who was Carrie in the movie that just came out. She's a wonderful young actress, and it's called If I Stay. And it's a story about a young, prodigious cello player, played by Chloe, whose family gets killed in an automobile accident, and she's in critical condition, and as she's in intensive care, I play her grandfather who helps resuscitate her back to health and playing the cello again. She revisits her past and her boyfriend and her all of her experiences in her life, and it's a wonderful film. If I Stay, it's called. Yeah,
nice.
Those films will be out later this year. Yeah, okay. Along with Sin City.
Look at that. You're still kicking them out.
Yeah, I got to. I got to keep punching that clock. Yeah.
So retirement is not in your vocabulary.
Oh no. That's not. No. I don't. I'll never retire. No, I want to keep working. I mean, and you know. No.
And the play, when does that start now?
It opens. It starts previews March 25th, and it will open April. Part 1 opens April 15th. Part 2 opens April 18th, and we run till the middle of June at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C.
Very nice. And we can go anywhere we can go to get more info about that, or?
Yeah, go to ShakespeareTheater.com, ShakespeareTheaterWashingtonDC.com, ShakespeareTheater.com, Washington, D.C., yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to promote or put out there?
No, I appreciate
your book,
it. I enjoyed this interview. Thank you, guys.
Where can we get your book at?
Amazon.com or in bookstores. You know, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, either or.
Very nice.
It's in the stores. It's out there. All in All.
There you go, everybody. All in All by Stacy Keach. Buy it, get it, read it, and enjoy it.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Real quick, though, before I let you go, can I get you just to cut a quick ID? And, this is Stacy Keach, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Hi, this is Stacy Keach, and you are listening. Hi, this is Stacy Keach, and you are listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, guys.
All right, Stacy, thank you. Have a great night.
Have a great one. Thank you. You too. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good luck with the play and everything.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. There he is, the legend himself, Stacy Keach. That was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, man. He stayed for a while and got some good, good stuff out of him.
Absolutely. See that? That when you told me that fact about him turning on John Wayne because it was not manly enough, it was like, wow.
But so I don't think that he got what I was saying. Like, I don't think that he understood that it was like supposed to be a joke. You know what I mean? Like the Chuck Norris facts. It was, right. I think he thought that it was somebody trying to say that seriously, but no, it was like. The over-exaggerated Chuck Norris facts, it was just the same, but with Stacy Keach, and they were very sort of like manly facts.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like somebody saying true facts as well. Okay, I got it now.
Right.
Yeah, I was on the same. I was on the Stacy Keach wavelength.
It's while you guys were talking, I'm just looking over his filmography and everything, and just he's been a part of so much, you know what I mean? And like landmark stuff, like I was saying before, ER and Prison Break specifically, they did a lot of things that were either first time for television or new to. I mean, ER did like the live episodes and the pacing for Prison Break and stuff like that. Like he's just been a part of so much, dude. Like I was saying, Scooby-Doo, Rugrats, Jesus of Nazareth, he's ingrained in American, entertainment.
Yeah, it's like when you get somebody like that and you have to interview them, and like when you're not really too up on, like, Stacy Keach. Like, I'm not like this overly big Stacy Keach fan. Like, I know who he is. I respect who he is. Like I said, like, when I was younger, Blue and the Gray, I was 12 years old when that came out. That movie stuck with me when that came out so much, and I became like a Stacy Keach fan at that point. And now whenever I see him on a TV show or a movie, I instantly think, I say to myself, first off I say, is that Stacy Keach? And I just instantly go back to the Blue and the Gray. So like, when I look over his stuff, like you look at his body of work, and it's overwhelming. It's like, what do you talk about with this guy, and you try to pick out fine points, and I knew, like, the things I would pick out would be the exact opposite of the things you would have picked out.
Well, and it was really crazy because despite the fact that he's been in all this, memorable things, and despite the fact that he's won a Tony and Golden Globes and been nominated for, I think, just about an Emmy, all kinds of stuff. At the end of the day, you heard him, like, he's just a normal dude trying to pay his, kids' tuition bill.
Right. And he was pretty blunt about it. And he said, like, he'll do, like, stuff that he loves, like he's doing this Henry IV play down in D.C., and he's really, he ain't making much money doing it. He's just doing it out of love. And then he'll do, like, these movies, like, to make real paydays, and then go back and do the things that he loves.
Well, and you've got to love him because, you don't get called, like, the premier Shakespearean actor in America and then go to do, like, Rugrats because just because you're looking for a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to think that Stacy Keach doesn't have to do that and that it's something, he wanted to do for this reason or that. You know what I mean?
Right. And his voice has become iconic, too. Like, just when he said, like, I popped huge, like, when he said, "You're listening to Totally Driven Radio." I mean, come on. That's friggin' awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he hasn't been in more, like, video games doing voices.
Yeah, right? You would think.
That seems like something that's been, sort of, you're seeing a lot more, big-time actors doing a lot of, video game and stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting that he hasn't yet.
I think the key word there was yet.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.